personal growth had done for him. Okay, because we already talked during the day where Steve completely built his skill sets, learning from this business, all purely based on personal growth. So he had a tremendous personal growth in the past 6 months because he focused on himself. You know, he's always been able to recruit. I think we can share here. He's recruited a batch of people, lost them, and probably. However, you know what? Like Benson said, you're gonna lose people, and everyone has different timing. However, don't get stuck on it. The right people will always be right. The wrong people, they filtered themselves out, right? Or timing wasn't right. However, we have to learn from the process. Don't we agree? You know, and Steve always a measure monitor. So he lost some people, selected a few core people. The second batch, he also realized he wasn't able to lead them the right way. So because why? He always focused on them. He's always, you know, come on, let's work on your names list. Let's do this for you. Let's do that for you. But once he switched the focus to himself, personal growth, everything changed. The team was easier to lead. The people was easier to communicate. Everybody started to buy their own tickets without you pushing them. Because why? They see your growth. Yes. And they have that belief in the leader. That's why they're willing to do what we tell them to do. Does that make sense? So, you know, I think this segment is really going to help a lot of us. So, help me welcome Steve.
Woo! All right, thank you so much. And it's a real pleasure and honor to have the opportunity to share this topic. And really it goes along with, in the same line as the part 5 of the Basic 5, which is follow-up and the ABC pattern of building depth. And what is part 5 of the Basic 5 all about? It's about duplication. So that's really the topic that I want to talk about. And why does personal growth go along with duplication? It's because everything in this business, everything is about duplication, one, but everything we do duplicates, more importantly. Everything we do duplicates. So that's why I love that where I was really born in this business, which is the Flushing team, because we really have this amazing culture of training and personal growth and focusing on the fundamentals. I really did not understand that fully until I had gone through my own process. Some people, they're very coachable right away. They kind of get stuff. For me, even though maybe I came from this background or that background where you think I would learn fast, I didn't learn that fast in this business. It took me a while to really be coachable and understand what I had to do in terms of actually building this as an asset and understanding what that means. So I want to start out with one part of this, which is about the first point here, which is that everything in this business is about duplication. Oops, there we go, everything. And I'm going to share a couple of stories of my process with you. It's really, let me just write this down. If I had a lovely assistant here, it would be great. But follow up and the ABC pattern. You guys can figure it out. It's the ABC pattern of building depth. That's the rest of it, right? So everything we do is for duplication. And the reason, when I started the business, I did not understand the following thing, which is this, but also this, which is what JR always talks about, Q to the T. I love formulas, by the way. Love formulas. Okay, Q to the T equals G to the D equals V equals money. Residual income. So I did not understand that. And when I started the business, what does that mean, first of all? Quality time. Quality time. Not just time, but quality time. I'll go into more detail. Equals duplicatable growth. Not just growth, but duplicatable growth. And equals volume equals residual income. I did not understand this at the start because when I started, I was doing so much by myself. I really was doing the business. I went through, I don't even know, I joke about this sometimes, I don't even know how I survived for basically 2 years just doing the business by myself. I don't even know, like, I think most people would have quit. going through no after no after no, and basically doing a lot of the same things the same way for such a long time, and for maybe 2 years doing that. I go look back and I'm like, why didn't I quit? I basically should have quit, but I really it's thanks to the amazing leaders that we have, really following up with me, and this is a key theme in here, following up with me, continuing to follow up with me, that I was able to eventually get into the system and understand the importance of being in the system and personal growth. So when I started, I was doing so much, and even Chase, I remember I had a comment, Chase back there had a comment when I brought the, 12 people to a local seminar. And I brought them, by the way, or I invited them. I didn't actually have the tickets for them. Some people I had some tickets for. But when I got to the local seminar, I was super early, and I remember Chase said to me, "You're doing this, wow, you're doing the business all yourself." And I thought, yeah, I'm doing the business all myself. It wasn't a positive thing, really, but that was a big mistake of mine. What I started to realize over time was I needed to kind of plug into the trainings. I realized, okay, the trainings are important. There's something about them. But, if I have a personal appointment or have a really good prospect, I can, the Wednesday training, evening training, I know I know what they're gonna say. I know what they're gonna train on. I've heard it a million times, and it's okay. This one time I can go meet my prospect. Or remember, Olivia? I don't even know. I have remembered these things pretty well, but I have this event where I can show like web centers. A lot of people business owners I can connect with for MA Web Centers. So, and it happens to be on a Wednesday evening, so I really can't make the training this time. And I can just imagine the frustration. Well, she's not affected by that, right? Leaders are not affected by that. But I can imagine the level of like, well, he still doesn't get it, right? That she was probably experiencing, and a lot of people were realizing. I remember Helen talked a lot about this. We talk about this from time to time. She looks back and she's like, I don't even know what you were doing back then. And you didn't get it for a while. So for me, I didn't get it. And so a point about this and follow up is we have to really be patient with people. I look at people who I'm prospecting or who I'm talking to or who I'm people who are in the team, and we just have to be patient with people. And we have to believe in them enough to follow up with them and care about them enough to follow up with them. I was the most unqualified person when I started the business. A lot of you know my background. So why is this relevant to this? Because eventually I did realize the importance of the events and not missing an event. But my next wave, my next process that I had to go through after I started to realize, okay, they're important, was I started to show up to events consistently. And only looking back can I realize this from my perspective now, but I started to show up to events consistently and plug in, but I was always doing these things for the wrong, thank you. I was always doing these things for the wrong reason. Yeah. I realize now that I was plugging in so that for the main purpose of, how many people can I bring to the event? How many people in my team, I didn't really believe so much in the events for myself yet, which reflected in the fact that I struggled to bring people out consistently or have people consistently show up. So I always focused on, as Olivia said, other people. Let me see how many people I can get to this next event. This event is not so important for me because I know this stuff already, but these people, my team, they need to be there because they need to learn. That was more of my mentality, and also my mentality was, let me be there because it's, I want to make somebody else in the team happy. That's what's expected of me, right? This was all the wrong mentality, and a lot of the time we don't realize we're having this mentality until we get to a certain point. So let me actually discuss this and then progress here. Why is all that build-up and explanation so important to this? Because it gets to a point where, yes, this is a formula. And this is all about duplicatable growth, duplication, and having residual income. But it takes some time sometimes for us to realize what that means.
Right.
Okay? So I want to have us understand that and have us be aware of what are our underlying processes. What are we thinking? What are we subconsciously thinking or going through mentally that are prohibiting or holding us back from understanding what duplication really is? So it's all about leadership. I don't have time. Actually, we can save some time if you don't mind writing some of this out. I really appreciate it. Or somebody. So leadership, I'm just going to make a few points because I have only a couple of minutes. But leadership, it's all about building leaders. And how do we build leadership? First of all, we have to become leaders. Isn't that correct? I didn't really get it. I always thought that was just a fancy thing that we said, oh, you know, it starts from yourself. But actually, it really does start from ourselves. So I realized this when I got to a point where as Olivia said, I brought people in, and then people were continuously falling out, and I had to realize it the hard way. Sometimes we do, but I realized that I could not control, and this is actually true, by the way, we cannot control people outside of us. We cannot control the circumstances outside of us. It's just, think about it, it's not possible. We can't fully control everything outside, but what do we have number one control over is ourselves. So what I started working on was, I started going from, hey, I know how to show the plan, and I think I do, to really having to own up to, hey, I really don't know it as well as I think I do. I don't know my 2-minute commercial as well as I think I do. I don't know my answer to what is it as well as I do. I don't communicate as well as I should be able to communicate. I don't have a compassion or a care for people as much as I should. And I don't know how to do that. I was honest with them, I don't know how to do that. So I had to go through this process of hammering out the fundamentals, focusing on myself and my own growth, and just saying this is what I can control, and having the faith and saying, but I believe based on looking inward, I'm going to be able to grow and have other people duplicate me. And that's actually what started to happen. This is what started to happen, where now we have, people who are really duplicating. And so it comes down to your residual income is a product of your entire team's education level. These are points that don't need to be made again. It's made through the stories that I shared, but the tickets. It's also the training, knowledge, experience, professionalism, fundamentals. We have to focus on fundamentals. If we don't, basically, we should get to a point, and this is what, from my own experience, we should get to a point of showing the plan, and the 45-year plan, 2 to 3 year plan, and all of these so many times that we get to a point of breakthrough where we show the plan and we're crying as we're showing the plan. Like, basically, that's what should happen. If we haven't experienced that, then you have to show the plan more, because that's what should happen at a certain point. Personal development, I had no time management. Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to get into that story. It's horrible time management. Miss Lou talks about using 1 day as 2 days. I use like 1 day as like 5 days, so really, really bad. So financial management, let's not even go there. Very bad financial management. And then emotional management, I have to say I've really built up a very good mindset. I'm always growing, so I am almost afraid to say that. But continuing to go from very weak emotional management to now, really nothing phases me. Well, guest walked out last night. I was like, yes, because I'm like, that was so easy. I didn't even have to do that much work. It was great. So I just put the no on my calendar. So no, it's good. But I know that it's all emotional management so important when it upgrades your communication. Okay, now every duplication starts with me. It's not with you. Because it's not about you, you guys, right? It's about me. Everything starts from me. Let's say that. Everything starts from me.
Everything starts from me.
So, number one importance, I don't think we have time to go through all of the forms of follow-up, but I want to talk about the one that's most important to in this process. That's where it starts. The number one follow-up is following up with yourself. You have to follow up. We have to follow up with our attitude and knowledge. We have to continue to plug into the trainings. And even, especially at the weakest points where we think that, oh, it's that one training and I know what they're going to talk about. Trust me, if we actually think, it's a bad sign. If we think that we are going to another training and it's the same information, we're not growing at all. Because it's actually, if we understand, it's different information every single time. And if we didn't get to the point where we actually realize it's different information every single time, and we're still thinking, oh, it's the same information, we're actually not growing. And it's a bad sign. Somehow we have to change something because it's different. Key things for my personal growth as I upgraded as I started to realize this process was, I had to learn how to communicate better. I had to learn how to increase my heart, basically communicating with my heart, having compassion, really caring about people as people before caring about them as a check, right? And then personality quadrant, we have to adjust our personality. I'll say something, through this process of improving my communication with team, it's improved my communication with prospecting, it's improved as my compassion and my ability to care for people has improved. My prospecting also and recruiting and sponsoring has improved. And also the personality quadrant, I used to be all green, right? If everybody knows it's analytical and a little bit red, pretty red. And then going into supporter, I had to learn how to be a supporter. I was not a supporter, trust me. I did not like people. That's putting it very lightly, okay? So I had to become a supporter, and actually it's funny, I have turned in the last few months, I have also turned into the yellow side, or no, the blue side, because I really like to hang out with people and have a good time now. And I actually know how to do it, whereas it's not awkward anymore for me to have a good time. So anyway, and the other people don't feel like it's awkward either. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up, because at the end of the day, we have to ask we want to know what is the method, because we want to know, well, how do I do it too? How do I actually, if I'm struggling with this, how do I upgrade and how do I improve my communication, my heart, my personality so it's better adapted to different people? How do I do this is I have to practice the fundamentals. And there's a systemized way of doing this. I have to plug into every training I can, one, and I also have to have an active learning mindset, which means my goal, I show up to a training with a purpose. Raise your hand. It doesn't matter if you it's not a matter of shame or anything. Who showed up to this training with a purpose? Something they specifically wanted to get out of the training today. Listen, that's okay if you didn't raise your hand, because it starts with understanding what your process is with the training. When we show up,每会必到，每到必会, right? We have to show up with a purpose, and really, we have to record, we have to take notes, and then we also have to go back to the notes and study the notes. And also, meeting after meeting, feedback, etc. How do I do it? You have to also practice the fundamentals. 4 cornerstones, 8 engines. Practicing the plan again and again. Answer to what is it? 2-minute commercial. Back to the fundamentals. Because guess what? That's going to make your identity in this business clear to you, and it's going to increase your communication skills. And because you have your identity in this business and you know what you're in it for, it's going to improve your heart, be able to care about people, and you will upgrade to be able to be the most versatile personality that can handle every single personality. So that's really what I've learned through this process, and I'm way over time. So thank you, Olivia. I'll give it back to Olivia. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Steve. Wasn't that helpful?
Yeah.
And what do we take away from the follow-up process on ourselves?
Yeah, everything starts with me.
Everything starts with me. Very good. If we understand that, the rest is easy. And I was just thinking as Steve was talking about, so many people asked us, how do we follow up on our team? How do we follow up on new people? How do we follow up on our leaders? So we always wonder, right? Because follow-up and ABC pattern is what builds residual, not just income. However, I think the best way to know how to follow up the team and leaders and new people is to really understand how to follow up ourselves. Because we have to empower others so that they can build their business successfully. But if we don't even empower ourselves, then what makes us possible to empower other people? This is just like a realization that came to me when Steve was talking about, and it jotted down myself. Really, the best way to know how to follow up the team is to first know how to follow up on yourself.
Yes.
Really. And how can we empower others if we don't empower ourselves? It's just like, how can we expect others to be willing to follow us and buy a ticket to fly to Miami and see something, investing a couple $100 when we don't even we're not willing to invest in ourselves. Does that make sense? Yes. And Steve brought up. If we talk about like the entire growth process of Steve, we can be here all day. And when he said he was out there doing things, okay, let me just give you a brief idea of what he did, right? So he had a period of time, a few months, okay, doing what? A lot of networking. Doing what? Went to just coffee appointments, and went to search online to get meetup groups, right? He went to all the different meetup groups, and he went to a lot of these social networking events. But all of these networking events and meetup groups, usually what time? Always what? After work, happy hour time, and also weekends, right? So it conflicts with what?
GMTS.
With our GMTSS and team training. So there was a time when he was like, he thought networking prospecting is so important because the meetup group is a meetup group, and then they don't always allow everybody there because the meetup group usually controls, if you represent nutrition, you're the only one, right? We can't have 5 nutrition people in the same meetup group. So he would always tell me that he had, remember this? And he's like, I'm going to this meetup group, I'm going to that networking session. But he really does, one thing that we have to know is you have to be coachable. He went through a lot of wrong trial and errors, but because he's coachable, and he wants this business badly enough, that's why he is still here today. Okay, if he didn't have that strong desire, everybody's gonna go like sideways. We all have to come back, adjust, right? But he adjusted, he was like so far out, right? But he still came back because why? Miss Liu always says, even if someone is doing the wrong way or went sidetracked a little bit, but if this person really wants this income, residual income, the person will always end up adjusting back to the system. I remember this ever since she said it. I was just like, okay, more patience to follow up, because he really wants this income. And so I had to talk with him. I said, have you let the person do it for a while, right? And you realize, how's the results, right? Were you able to bring anyone to the system? Were you able to successfully show the business? So obviously the answer is no. So I said, you realize cold prospecting doesn't mean in a networking or meetup group. How many people have really had success going to meetup groups and recruit people? That was hot for like a little bit. People suggested, you probably, 1 or 2 people out of like 20 meetup groups, right? And so I said, Steve, cold prospecting means when you don't go out to prospect, you have to prospect when you're out.
Right.
So we had this talk, and I said you have to just be able to get people's name on Subway. Get people's names when you're, buying food, okay? That's what we mean by correct prospecting. So he adjusted, right? So he broke through that. And then there was a stage where he didn't pre-purchase any tickets due to financial challenge, right? Buying his own, he understands value of training. He's always understood that, but didn't pre-purchase tickets. So when he had those 12 people coming in, guess who had the tickets? I had the tickets, right? The 3-4 tickets, remember? And then see, he would be like, the guest is already showing up at the door downstairs. He'll be like, Olivia, my guest is here. Can you give me a ticket, right? So that was the process for a little bit too. And then we had to talk, right? You let them go through it and then measure, monitor. So I said, do you realize why your team is not duplicating or growing? That's because you do not pre-purchase tickets and you don't set goals with your tickets. Then he understood, wow, and then he broke through. He started buying 8 tickets to the next local. And he bought 12 tickets to the next local. And then his partner, who starts, also has the guts to buy 8 tickets to the next local as a new distributor. So you see the growth process, right? But we don't have to go through that, trial and error, right? So if your leader tells you, you gotta show up, you gotta pre-purchase tickets, you gotta do this, and you gotta focus on personal growth, then why don't we just listen and be 100% coachable?
Yeah.
Right? Like how many people have that kind of mental toughness like Steve to go through all these trial and error? And, does that make sense? So the easiest way is just listen and do, right? Don't think.
Yeah.
Don't think. Listen and do. And the only thinking you should do is measure, monitor, adjust, and control. So don't think before you take the action. Think after you take the action. Well, that was brilliant. I like that. That was just on the spot. Okay. But does that make sense? It's like people overthink before they take the action. That's where the problem is. You see people who have results is always listen, do. Then think about what you did. Does that make sense? Evaluate, measure, monitor, then you take action better, right, next time. So how was our training the entire 2 days? Woo! Pretty amazing, right? Pretty amazing. So, we really would like to thank each one of you for making this training happen. And we know it's not easy, right? Fighting jet lag for all of our out-of-state partners, and also 5 days